Hey everyone, this is Randy from BibleBuyingGuide.com, and I have a special guest today. This is Craig Rairdin from Laridian Bible Software. And so I just wanted to have him on here today to talk about what he does and why I think you should purchase his product. Or, well, we'll just let Craig talk about it. So, Craig, can you tell us a little bit about Laridian Bible Software and Pocket Bible?
All right. Good to be with you this morning, Randy. So Pocket Bible is our Bible study app for mainly for Android and iOS. That's kind of how we got started was with mobile devices. And then we also have Windows Desktop and Mac OS versions as well. Been doing this for a little over 25 years now in the mobile space. So we've been around the block a few times in that regard. And before we were Android and iOS, we had versions for Palm OS and Windows CE, Pocket PC, Web OS, which nobody remembers, and BlackBerry, and that might be about it. So mobile is our specialty. We have several hundred books available in our library. The Pocket Bible app itself is free on all platforms, and then you get a number of free books, and then you purchase any additional ones that you might want. One other thing that we do that a lot of places don't is we have an app called Book Builder, and Book Builder allows you to create reference books that run inside the Pocket Bible app. It's the same tool that we use when we create books, and so that allows Pocket Bible users to also create their own reference material, either stuff they've written or stuff that they find, like public domain stuff on the internet.
That's awesome. Now, I have a little bit of a history with Pocket Bible on Windows. What did you call it? I don't remember.
So you mean the Pocket Bible app running on Windows?
Yes,
It's always been Pocket Bible.
Pocket PC. I mean, I said it wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah, Pocket PC. So originally, the very first thing we had was Palm Bible,
Okay.
and then you remember back in the day we had Palm devices,
Hmm.
and so when 3Com sold Palm to whoever they sold it to, and then everything was just called Palm. That company, Palm OS, came after everybody who used Palm in the title of their product. And so there were hundreds of us that had to change the titles of our apps.
So back in when was this? Early 2000s?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because in early 2000s, I got a HP Jornada,
Hmm.
and that was my device. And so I started looking for Bibles, and I found two that were okay, um, that I liked, but one I really liked, and the other was just okay. The first one I found was Olive Tree. I didn't like the look of it. They used olive colors, which hurt my eyes, and I can't read dark backgrounds with light text. I have to have it the other way around: light text, dark. Light backgrounds, light text. Anyway, dark text. I have to have a white background with black text. Let me say it that
Okay,
way.
okay.
If in other words, I can't read dark mode. So Olive Tree looked more like dark mode, and it was weird colors, and it hurt my eyes. But I found this other one, something called Palm Bible or something along that line, and I was hooked. I loved it. That was my Bible. In fact, when I got it, I didn't even use a printed Bible for a year. All I
Mhm.
used was my HP Jornada. That was it. I didn't use anything else. And then I ended up upgrading to an iPac, compact iPac, because I broke my screen.
Okay.
Um, so I got the compact iPac, and I went right back with the Palm Bible. Then I upgraded to a phone that was also a Palm Pilot. This was the Palm Centro, little tiny screen, but a
Hmm.
little keyboard on there, cute little thing. I loved it. I went right back to Palm Bible. So I had it on two different OSs. I had it on the Palm OS, and I had it on the Windows CE. And then of course later upgraded to Android, and then I go back to Laridian every time, or Pocket Bible every time. Now it's called Pocket Bible, so it's a little different, like you were talking. But
Yep.
little bit of history. I don't even know if you know all of this, but when I first got the Jornada and got hooked on Palm Bible, that was my software. I started thinking that I wanted to write for a living. I was working in engineering at an automotive manufacturing company, but I wanted to be a technical writer. So I'm like, I like this software. I'm going to contact this company and see if I can write for their blog, just a few posts. So you agreed. I contacted you and you agreed, and you said, sure, you can write a few posts for our blog. I was able to use that as examples of my writing to help launch my writing career. So you were
Wow.
part of me launching my writing career. I don't know if I ever
That's
told you
great.
that, but I
Yeah, that's
appreciate
great.
that. And then a couple of more things with our history. Back in 2020, we did an interview in writing, and then that is posted to BibleBuyingGuide.com. But I still wanted to talk to you face to face as much as Zoom is face to face.
Yeah,
But
right.
then also 3 years ago, Bible Buying Guide is 13 years old this year, last month. And 3 years ago, we had a 10-year celebration, and I got together with all the big Bible publishers and some software publishers, and we gave away something like $4,400 worth of free Bibles and software. You were part of that, and I appreciate that very much. So you supported us and you sponsored us for that giveaway, and I appreciate that. Now I see something in the background that says Quickverse Bible Concordance. Can you tell us about that?
Well, so yeah, you go back a ways, and so you were you aware back in those days of my connection with Parsons Technology and
Yep.
Quickverse? Okay, all right, yeah. So um, to go back kind of to the beginning, I graduated from college in 1981, 80, yeah, at the end of 81, and went to work for Rockwell International here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they make the division that I was in was doing government avionics. So it's the electronic equipment in military aircraft. And did that for 7 or 8 years and got looking around um, for something more challenging. I was in a department mainly of mechanical engineers and electrical engineers doing a lot of hardware. And of course, I was doing software. My degree is in computer science, but I was the only software guy in that department, which was fine too. I got to do all the fun stuff. Um, and but I was looking for a different challenge, something that was more completely software related. And one of the things I did is went out and submitted my resume to some local companies. And at home and at our church, we were using a financial management tool called Money Counts. And Money Counts was written by a local person in Cedar Rapids and had quickly become like the thing to have for doing your home budgeting. And came to learn that was written by Bob Parsons. And most people know Bob from GoDaddy. But before he was GoDaddy and before he was PXG Golf Clubs and before he owned the biggest Harley Davidson dealership in the United States, he had a little software company called Parsons Technology. And so I went and interviewed with Bob in probably 1987, toward the end of 87. And at the time, he was working out of his basement. And so I went over there to talk to him about coming to work for him as a programmer. And the problem was he had just kind of left his full-time job and was doing this software thing for the first time full-time. So he didn't really have any employees. And he kind of could offer me a position if I wanted to write code for him, but he didn't want to pay me anything. And that was important to me. And so I ended up not going to work for him at the time. But one of the things that he talked about was how he had gone into business, and in the first year he had his program sell it for $169 and lost $25,000 that first year. And so they dropped the price to $99 and lost $15,000 that second year. And finally, they dropped the price to $12 and they made $100,000 that year, and the profits just kept going up after that. And the way he did it was by, of course, making a great product. And then he would take out ads in, you remember at the time, Computer Shopper, PC Magazine, Byte Magazine. And he would do a 2-page spread with a money counts ad and then a comparison chart showing how money counts stacked up against Quicken and managing your money and these tools that were available at the time for home finance. And it only cost $12. And people were just knocking down his doors to get it. And so I thought, I wonder if I could do something like that with Bible software. And I had run across um, like a shareware place in the back of Computer Shopper, and you could, for $5, they'd send you a disk with a bunch of public domain or shareware software on it. And I found a set of disks had the KJV Bible, and so picked up a copy of that, took the Bible, wrote a program that indexed it, compressed it, and then another program that would read that and allow you to go to a verse and copy a passage out into a document, look up words and phrases and all that kind of stuff. And I called that program Logos. And this was before another company by that name came along. And so I was selling that from home in the summer and fall of 1988. And in October of 88, I should say, having written this program, then what I did was uh, priced it such that it was way lower than what anybody else was doing. At the time, you'd pay like $200 for a KJV. And so I was at $49. And then I advertised in Pulpit Helps and Christianity Today and some other magazines. I couldn't afford a big ad, but I tried to do a nice little ad. So anyway, I went to Bob with the idea of, can I take your customer list, go through it and find everything that looks like a church, and then send a direct mail piece to all the churches offering them my Logos program. And he had me come in. By that time, he was in rented office space. So he had moved out of his basement, and he had about 25 employees just in the year since I had last seen him. And he looked at the program, really liked it, and said, "Hey, would you let us license this from you and sell it under our brand, and we pay you a royalty?" And I said, "Better yet, how about if I come to work for you and I can continue to develop the product and I can market it, like help you market it, because it's a very niche, specialized audience." And that didn't take very much thought for him to say, "Yep, let's do that." One thing that surprised me that he said, excuse me a second. One thing that surprised me is when he said churches are the largest category of small businesses in the United States. I'm like, what a weird statistic to know. And he says, what I'd like to do is get my money counts program into churches. And, if that's something that you could help me do, that'd be great. So one of my first tasks was to we wrote a program called Membership Plus that kept track of your church membership. And then I suggested changes to money counts to accommodate, I think it's called fund accounting. And it's just a simpler way of accounting that churches use that, don't have to do audited financial statements, and that kind of stuff. It's basically like you would do home budgeting, where you have a bucket of money, and when the bucket's empty, you can't spend any more in that category. Anyway, so I brought my Logos program to Bob, and he says, we got to change the name. And that kind of upset me. But we worked together to come up with the name Quickverse. And that's how we ended up selling the software. Now, years later, the company that you know as Logos would come along, and we heard of them before they had their product released. I talked to them about doing something together, and they were kind of on a course of doing their own product and taking over the world. That's always been their goal. And I said to Bob, I sold a product called Lagos for quite a while. And if push came to shove, that's my name, that's my trade name. And we could go after these guys and just to stir up the pot, kind of make them rethink their approach, make them change their name. And Bob said, that would be a good idea, except they would come up with something better. And so that was a kind of letting me know that he never did like my name Lagos. And so he was happy with just
I
letting those
like
guys
it.
keep it. I think it's a nice name, and the problem I think with is it speaks to guys like you and me.
Yep.
And I know exactly. I mean, I chose that for the name of my product. And I called mine Logos Bible Processor, which was a takeoff on the word processor. And Logos equals word. And I thought I was very, very clever. And Bob just thought I was too clever. Quickverse, I think, was a better name. So we changed the product name to Quickverse, and that was in 1988. By the middle of 1989, we were outselling all other Bible software combined with our Quickverse product. And I did that for 10 years before leaving and starting Laridian.
How did that process work? Is Quickverse, where is Quickverse now? And then what is Laridian exactly?
So in 1994, Bob sold Parsons Technology to Intuit, the makers of Quicken. They wanted to take our tax preparation product, Personal Tax Edge. They wanted to get that off the market because it competed with TurboTax. And so they bought us, and then unbeknownst to us, they were also working on a deal with Microsoft to be purchased by Microsoft. And the um, Federal Trade Commission said, yeah, no, you have Microsoft money and Quicken, it's too much, you would own that market. Anyway, so in 1994, Bob sold the company to Intuit. And in 1997, Intuit sold the company to Broderbund. Broderbund was the company that made Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and Print Shop, and they had a genealogy program. They were kind of a big deal back in the day. And when Broderbund bought Parsons Technology from Intuit, they wanted to get rid of all the little deals that Bob had made on the side. And really mine was the most substantial of those and might have been the only one that still existed. And so Intuit came to me and said, we want to just buy out Quickverse. We want to just own it outright. We want to stop paying you. I was getting a percentage of profits, and we want to cut that off. And so I sold Quickverse to Intuit before they sold it to Broderbund. Yeah. And yeah, so they bought me out. So at that time, I handed over or destroyed every copy of the Quickverse code that I had. So I have no Quickverse code at all on my person. That became interesting because in 1998, 1990, yeah, Broderbund was bought by the Learning Company. The Learning Company was run by Kevin O'Leary, who you know from Shark Tank.
Yes.
And they were buying companies in order to hide their massive losses. So they were doing crazy accounting tricks. And one of those was when TLC bought us, they shipped literally a truckload of Quickverse CDs to Costco. It might have been somewhere else, but I remember it as Costco. And so it was the end of September, and a truckload of Quickverse goes out to Costco. The first week of October, that entire, probably the same truck, came back to our loading dock and they unloaded everything off of it. And I'm like, what happened there? And what they were doing is they would sell. So the end of September would be the third quarter. They would sell a truckload of product in the third quarter. Say it's $100,000 just to make something up. Then they would accept a return in the fourth quarter. And the returns they would write off over 5 years. So you'd have a $100,000 sale in September that would be on the books. And then in October, you would have a $5,000 expense of the return. So it looked like you made $95,000 when actually no product exchanged hands and no money was ever paid.
Wow.
So that was the experience of, and that was all they wanted to do was stuff like that.
Mm.
And so at the end of 98, I said, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Now, during that year, I had been working at home on the product that would become Palm Bible. And the interesting little piece of the story, interesting to me, I don't know if it's interesting to anybody else, is that when Intuit bought me out in 97, they had a clause in there that said this agreement supersedes all other agreements that you may have had in the past. And okay, so that's fine. But what they didn't realize is that meant I was under no non-compete. I had nothing that kept me from just leaving and starting up another Bible software company. And when TLC came in and bought us, they went through and made everybody in the company sign non-compete agreements. And I made the case that I'm under a special case. Like I have no agreement. They were bought out. I'm a special case. They didn't really like that. But I had several employees who said, yeah, we're not gonna do that. So at the end of 98, I left, and a guy, Jeff Wheeler, who had been working with me for years, he left with me. And then a third person, Jim Van Duzer, also left. And I had, by that time, had finished my Bible software at home. And we started selling that at the end of 1998. Now, in either 99 or 2000, the shareholders of Mattel, which had bought the learning company, they got to look at the books and said, the learning company is all just smoke and mirrors. There's nothing there. And so they sued Mattel. And I happened to drop an email to the lawyers for the shareholders and said, it's worse than you think. And so I got contacted by their lawyers and got deposed for a day and a half to tell all of the stories that I knew. And they ended up settling that lawsuit without going to court. But one of the things they did, they made me bring in all my notes from when I was at Parsons Technology. So all my meeting notes and all my phone logs. And they're looking for anything they can sink their teeth into. And one of the things was, is this guy, Craig Rairdin, can we delegitimize him and show that he took Quickverse and turned it into this new program? And so it was great to be able to go through all of my logs, all my phone logs, all my meeting notes. I have no mention at all because I sold all of that. That's all gone. And so to go back to your question from 20 minutes ago, I have nothing at all to do with Quickverse and don't have any of the code. And the Quickverse went from the learning company to Mattel. And then in the early 2000s, Mattel sold it. It went through one other company, but then it eventually got sold to a company called Findex. And Findex got all the church division products. And they failed miserably. They sold our Membership Plus program to, I think, ACS. I can't remember what that stands for. So one of the other big church management companies, and they sold Quickverse to Lifeway. So it became part of Word Search. And then Word Search killed Quickverse completely. And then, of course, Word Search got bought by Logos, and Logos killed Word Search. So, it's like dead twice. So Quickverse is gone. And everything that we did for Palm Bible / Pocket Bible was all brand new code that Jeff and I wrote.
So I remember using Quickverse. That's the first Bible software I used. I think in the mid '90s, if I remember correctly, somewhere around
Mhm.
95 ish. Actually, I think I used it on Windows 3.1, if I remember right. So that
Okay.
would have been 94.
That earlier than that, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, 95 didn't quite come out in 95 as I recall, but yeah,
okay.
into 95.
Okay. So mid '90s, I used
Yep.
Quickverse and I liked it. I thought it was good software. So that
Mhm.
eventually became part of the family of Word Search, which eventually became part of the family of Logos Bible software, which kind of funny because it started as Logos Bible software.
Right, right. Yep.
so, so it's now tell us about Laridian and Pocket Bible. And I'm going to tell you in a minute some of my favorite things about Pocket Bible, which I think makes it some of the best Bible software you can get. And one of the reasons I recommend it. Anyway, I
Mhm.
don't want to get ahead of you though. Go ahead and tell us about Laridian and Pocket Bible.
Okay, so let's see. So when we started Laridian, was right when like your HP Jornada would have been actually later than that, but it's in that same family. It was when Windows CE came out. And Jeff Wheeler and I had gone to management at Parsons, which was then a part of in 97, we were part of Broderbund, and said, look, there's this new thing, Windows CE. Intuit by that time was doing a version of Quicken that would run on Windows CE. Um, and we'd like to look at doing our Quickverse program for Windows CE. And they had no interest in doing that at all. Um, just they didn't think that mobile was going to catch on. Um, so Jeff and I went to a Windows CE developers conference in the spring of 98 with the idea of like, can we do Quickverse in this thing? And and Jeff said, what if we just do it? Like, what if you and I do this and make our own Bible software outside of Parsons Technology? And at the time, like we're not under any agreements, we could do that. And Parsons had already said, we're not interested in it. So we didn't see it as a competing thing. so uh, so I was doing most of the coding work on that nights and weekends uh, for the product that would become Palm Bible and later Pocket Bible. It was originally for Windows CE, and then we actually licensed a program called well, we called it My Bible. It was called Scripture. We licensed that from another company and then put it out under our name. And then we eventually kind of worked that into where it could read books from Pocket Bible and made the two products work together a little bit more. Um, and then we've just kind of kept the code going. Like in the iPhone version, are you using iPhone or using the Android?
Android.
Android. So the Android code's all written in Java and it would have been translated from the C++ code. But the C++ code that runs in the iOS version of Pocket Bible is the same C++ code that was running on your Jornada.
Wow.
Like we just kept kind of bringing it along and we would add things, but there are lines of code in there that are day one lines of code and have just always been in there. And then, of course, um, yeah, and then we had to translate when we went to uh, Android. But then the Windows desktop, our older Windows program, um, would have had that same code in it as well. And then the newer Windows Store version, that is a rewrite by an outside third party. And then we're currently working on a new Windows version that is, again, another rewrite, but it references back to that original C++ code from your Jornada. And so our file format uh, that for all of our Bibles and reference books that ran on your Windows CE device, we could take those files today and they would run on your under iOS. Now we've updated and stuff along the way, so there's better versions of those files. But yeah, it's pretty much been the same format all along. I could go into features and stuff, but I mean, if you want to talk about what you like, and I
Yeah.
can launch off from there.
My video is going to end in 7 minutes, but if we're still talking, I will send you a new link and we can keep going if that's okay.
Yep, that's great.
Okay. So the Pocket Bible has the free features, and then there's an extra thing that you can purchase. I purchased the extra thing,
Okay.
and it gives you things like scrolling. So I've used Pocket Bible as my yearly reading Bible with auto scroll, and it's beautiful. It's just
Yep.
clear. Just it. I love that. I also like the extra notebook because you can have you can have Bible on one side and notebook on the other. Of course, you can have as many windows as you want. That's one of the really interesting things. You can have your screen filled with windows with different things in each one. And but one of those is a notebook that you can either have a notebook that is a separate journal, which is great for writing sermons, and they're hot linked. So if you type in
Yep.
the verse, it brings in the verse, or it clicks to the verse. And then let's see what else. Those are my favorite features: the notebook and the auto scroll. Now,
Yep.
in my opinion, those are worth buying the extra add-on by itself. That's all you need. But now it has other features. Can you tell us about the other features?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is the advanced feature set, and the advanced feature set is a subscription service. It's $9.99 a year, and it gives you access to a bunch of different features. And associated with the auto scrolling that you like, which is just the text scrolling up and you can read. And I do what you do. So when I'm doing my Bible reading in the morning, I just click go and it just sits and scrolls and I read along. And so that's kind of fun. That auto scroll feature is associated with a listen feature. So some people like to listen to the Bible being read. So we use synthesized voice to read the Bible to you using the speech synthesis that's available on whatever operating system we're running on. So it sounds different on Android than it does iOS because they're different systems. Um, Also in that advanced feature set is a tool we call auto study. So you can just type in a verse that you're studying. So you type in John 3:16 and it will go through your entire library, find all your commentaries and bring those into one big document, show you John 3:16 out of all your different Bible translations you have. If you have obviously Greek New Testaments, it'll bring that in. If you have Strong's numbers, like Bibles with Strong's numbers, it brings those in, plus all the definitions of the Strong's words so that you know those. You can auto study a verse like that. You can also give it a word or a phrase, and it'll do the same thing. Go find all the definitions of that word everywhere and everywhere that it's used. And then you can also do it with your devotional study, which is kind of weird, but you can give it a date, and then you can even give it more than one devotional. Like I've done it where I'm doing the Old Testament in a year and the New Testament in 6 months, and I do those at the same time. So I read through the New Testament twice and the Old Testament once. And with auto study, I can put both of those devotionals in the auto study and then say, okay, it's May 31st, and it'll grab all of the Bible text I need to read that day and just drop it into one document. And then I can style that document, use the fonts and the colors and whatever, make a real pleasant reading experience out of it. One of the interesting little side notes about the advanced feature set is that this goes back to Parsons Technology in the 1980s. And Bob was selling his Money Counts program for $12. And then for $50, you could get Money Counts Pro. And I don't remember the feature list for Money Counts Pro, but as I recall, it was basically that it let you print reports. Like it really wasn't anything very special. And you wouldn't believe the number of people who would sign up for the pro version. And so we're in this position where today nobody wants to buy software, nobody wants to pay anything, and everybody wants it for free. And so we're forced to give away PocketBible for free, even though our development costs are the highest chunk of costs that we have. And so in order to generate revenue from our perspective as a business, in order to generate revenue from the program, that advanced feature set gives us direct revenue, coming in for each particular product. And that way you're not paying for upgrades every year. Instead, you're just doing that advanced feature set subscription. We just introduced a lifetime advanced feature set, which will give you the advanced feature set with no renewals. So you do a one-time payment and you've got it forever.
Nice. I like that.
The name of our company, Laridian, is often thought to come from my last name, which is Rairdin, but they're actually not related at all. Laridian is from a Greek word, biblaridion, which means a small book. And you find it in Revelation, I think. We like the idea of biblaridion as the foundation of our name of our company, since what we create is small books for small devices. But we didn't like that first syllable. That bib seemed rather heavy, or it sounded like babble or something like that. So we dropped the bib and just had Laridion as the name. But the ION ending is kind of awkward and doesn't sound exactly right. So we changed the ending to IAN, Laridian, and now it sounds more like an adjective. So Laridian Bible Software, Laridian PocketBible made sense. So there's a tie to the Greek word that means a small book, but the word itself, Laridian, is actually just made up and only for our company name, and has nothing at all to do with my last name.
I highly recommend Laridian PocketBible. We'll go ahead and end here. Where can our readers or listeners or watchers find out more about PocketBible?
You can come to our website, which is www.laridian.com. It's LARIDIAN.com. And you'll find everything you need to know.
Perfect. And it's for all kinds of different OSs and devices. And if you have it, you can get it.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for watching. I'll put links in the notes, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Craig.
Yep. Thanks, Randy.